Welcome everyone to the second Washington Organic Seed Summit. It is February 15th, 2023. And my name is Abba Kiser. I'm so excited to welcome you today on behalf of the WSU Food Systems Program in partnership with the Organic Seed Alliance and Viva Farms. I'm going to kick it off to our co-hosts in just a moment, but I just wanted to say a warm welcome to you and all of your all the speakers and all the people who have carved out time to make this event a part of your life. Really excited about the program we have today, and we'll kick it off by introducing some of the folks on our team. And before we get started and hear from you, I just want to welcome the summit hosts. Ana Galvez, who is a part of the Organic Seed Alliance, is having some technical difficulties this morning, so not able to join, but we want to just acknowledge Ana and all of the work that she has put into helping create this program. And I want to pass the mic over to Kayla to say a quick hello.
Hey everyone, my name is Kayla and I am the Research Farm Manager with Organic Seed Alliance in Chimacum, Washington. Happy to be here with you all today.
Thanks, Kayla. And welcome, Michaela Colley.
Morning, everyone. Nice to see familiar names and new names, and happy to be here. Happy to be joined by the beautiful Bonnetta this morning as well. I'm with Organic Seed Alliance, and I work with Kayla in Washington State. And Anna in Washington State.
Thanks, Mick. And last but certainly not least is Rebecca Koronowski-Woods.
Thanks for being here, y'all. I am the Information and Events Coordinator with Organic Seed Alliance, and I have the privilege of working with all of these wonderful folks who you'll be seeing on the screen today. And I am here in Port Townsend, Washington as well, and there was frost on the ground this morning, so I wonder if that's true for some of you as well. So I will be here. My camera may not always be on, but I'm here to support. Feel free to get in touch with me in the chat. I'll be the person behind the screen pulling the levers. Thanks, Ab. I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Rebecca. And let's go back to that second slide here, and we'll get folks who haven't already to introduce themselves in the chat. If you feel comfortable sharing your name and pronouns, your farm or business organization name, where you're located, and what you can see outside your window right now. We're just all still arriving, still starting our day, the start of the summit. We're going to have a robust and compact program over the next 2 days, and it's important to take care of yourself and make sure that you are orienting yourself in the space where you are. And so if you feel comfortable sharing that with us, that would be wonderful. So we know who's in the room. All right, we're going to move to the next slide. And before we launch in and introduce our first speaker, we're going to just talk a little bit about establishing the space for this online conference. And these are some of the agreements that have been developed through the OSA network, and a way to kind of keep the space and refer back to these agreements as we make community together in these virtual spaces. So I'm going to invite members of the team to read some of these out. I'm going to read the first two here. So we all have a role in tending this space. During the event, we agree to speak for ourselves and make space for others, and be as present as possible. And I'm going to pass it to Kayla.
Next, we have be aware of who is missing in each conversation. Remember that no one has a monopoly on truth and everyone's experience is valid. Critique ideas, not people. And I'll pass it over to Rebecca.
And we are agreeing to listen to our bodies and tend to their needs. Give some grace for technical and logistical difficulties, and to aim for connection and not perfection.
Awesome. Thank you all. If you at any point during the conference feel as though you would like to provide some critical feedback or have experienced something that is concerning or troubling for you, there are methods for reporting instances of harm. You can contact any of the summit hosts, or you can also reach out to the OSA Outreach Director, Kathleen McCluskey, and the email for Kat is in the chat. So this is an ongoing process of learning and growing. And so if you feel like sharing feedback, there are several mechanisms to do that, including the survey that Rebecca also just posted in the chat. Great, we'll move to the next slide here. And I want to pass this over to Michaela to also introduce our partners with Viva Farms in this event and talk a little bit about the summit partners that are supporting. So Mick, if you feel comfortable, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Abba. Well, this event was financially sponsored by the WSDA Specialty Crop Block Grant, but it's really a partnership of 3 organizations based in Washington State: Organic Seed Alliance, Viva Farms, and the WSU Food Systems Program. Really, the content, the talks that you hear, all of the presentations are prioritized by the participants. So we really have an input process where the registration that you filled out asks what you want to see, what you want to hear. And then all of the speakers are your neighbors here in Washington State, and from afar, who are building relationships with farmers in Washington State. So we're really honored to be joined by Bonnetta this morning from Ujamaa Seeds. We have some other participants from other seed companies, and a lot of farmers' voices that you're going to hear in the next 2 days. I would like to take just a moment to introduce Catherine Myvold from Viva Farms. Catherine's been a partner with OSA in some programming. They have an incubator farm up in Skagit Valley, and work with us in helping farmers move into seed as part of their new business operation. Catherine, you want to just share a few words about Viva?
Yeah, thanks, Michaela, and hi, everyone. It's nice to be here this morning and see everybody in this space. Yeah, we've collaborated with OSA for a number of years. Briefly, I just want to explain who Viva Farms is and what we do. We're a nonprofit organization, and we're a farm business incubator. And so what that means is we help farmers to start farm businesses. And we do that by providing what we consider the 5 essentials, things that folks need if they want to start a farm business. So it's land, infrastructure and equipment, help with marketing and sales, help seeking and accessing capital, and then training. So a lot of the work that we do with OSA is related to the training aspect of our programs. We provide bilingual training in English and Spanish at our Skagit County location, and we also have a location in Woodinville where our programming is in English. And we do workshops. We also do a full season farm business training course where we work with aspiring farmers to basically do a whole practice farming season together. And then we also do a lot of one-on-one technical assistance. And in the past, the work that we've done with OSA, we've been working on a few different grants and a few different projects over the years. I would say some of the highlights would be our collaborations on variety trials. At Viva Farms, we had gotten some input from the farmers about what type of crops they're interested in improving and growing on their own parcels. And one of the ones that came up in conversation was dry corn, which is something that farmers at Viva have grown mostly for personal use and is like a culturally relevant crop to Oaxaca, where a lot of them come from. And that the information that we had gotten was that the seeds, they have a hard time growing at our latitude. And so for a number of years, we've been partnering with OSA, working on identifying varieties that do well up here and also developing new varieties. So that's ongoing, and that's pretty exciting work that we've been working closely on. We've also collaborated on workshops around seed saving. OSA was able to get a grant to actually purchase some equipment that's been really helpful to the farmers at Viva around seed processing. And so, we got this winnow wizard, which is really exciting. And OSA was able to bring that out to us, demonstrate it for the farmers, and then they've been able to use that to save seeds from their own crops since then. And then really a lot of the work that we've been doing together has been around outreach and technical assistance, just to make sure that all of the valuable work that OSA is doing gets promoted to our communities, that everybody knows that it's happening, that it's accessible, that translation is provided when it's needed, and just to really welcome the community in. And so we really value this partnership, and we're honored to be here today. I'm going to drop some information into the chat here if you are interested in learning more about Viva Farms or contacting us.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you.
And all the teams of everyone at Viva. We really appreciate the partnership, and it has been really rewarding. There's some Viva farmers who are actually with us today that I saw in the name list, and it's been really rewarding to build personal relationships with the farmers as well as with your team. And pass it back to Abba.
Great, thank you. And good to see you, Catherine. Thanks for being here. I want to take a few moments to just review the program. So this is a 2-day event going from 9 until 1 p.m. Pacific. We'll start the session today with the amazing Bonnetta Adeeb talking about her work with the Ujamaa Seed Collective. We'll take a short break at 10 o'clock and then come back for opportunities in on-farm variety trials and seed research with Marco Colby from Midori Farm and Nicholas Engelbert from SeedLinked. We'll take another break and then come back for a 1-2 punch to end the day with small to medium scale seed equipment with Katie Miller from Saltwater Seeds and Ellen Green from Wayward Acres. And we'll end the day with a little bit of networking so you can get the chance to connect with folks that you see in the room and hear during the sessions that you would like to build more relationship with. And that program is going to be all about sharing your seed stories. Really giving you the chance to share the seeds that hold meaning for you and to bring your favorite seed story to share. The second day will be the same timing. We'll talk about seed contracting in the morning with Aaron Verardi of High Mowing Seeds and Brian Campbell from Uprising Seeds, in addition to welcoming back Miss Bonnetta again from Ujamaa. Really excited about that session. And so you can hear from all kinds of perspectives about seed contracting and lessons learned and perspectives for how to move forward. We'll take a short break and come back again with some direct marketing of organic seed in Washington State with Nathaniel Talbot of Deep Harvest and Brian Campbell again from Uprising. Then managing disease in specialty seed production in Washington with Lindsay Dutois from Washington State University Extension. I'm really excited about that session. And then we'll do a closing ceremony and feedback session with Jennifer Williams of Wild Dreams Farm. And if you are identifying as Black or Indigenous or as a person of color, there is an affinity space that's going to be hosted by Melanie Edwards, formerly of OSA, but currently with the Wallace Center. She's going to be holding some space from 1 to 3. There is a sign-up form for that space. I believe the link is on the next slide here. There it is. And we'll drop that link in the chat. So if you want to be a part of this session, please respect the space that it is for BIPOC folks, and the sign up is in the chat there that Rebecca just posted. So hoping that folks who feel interested can join and get to enjoy the beautiful presence of Melanie Edwards. What a fantastic person. So that's going to be tomorrow from 1 to 1:30. I think we skipped over one slide here. Let's see. So just a note about the program, you are in the Zoom room. This is the Zoom room for the whole conference. And unless it's otherwise noted on the program. So the BIPOC Affinity space is going to have its own link. Everything that is not designed around personal sharing and stories is going to be recorded and shared. The discussions in the breakout rooms will not be recorded for obvious reasons, but the rest of the material will be made available online after the conference is over. Rebecca, I don't know if you want to add any notes about that. Okay, great. We'll move on. And I will toss it to Rebecca to briefly explain the Seed Commons and why it's such an important place for continued networking for this group.
Thanks, Abba. So I will drop the link in the chat here. So we have OSA hosts a social networking platform called Organic Seed Commons. And we have over 2,000 seed growers and tenders from the US and around the world who gather there together. And we've created a special page that is just for the folks who are participating in the Washington Seed Summit to get together and network and share resources and introduce yourselves and kind of just extend the connection that we're making here in Zoom beyond. Hopefully that will lead to more connection in person and collaboration. And yeah, this is really just planting the seed for us here. So use this space as an opportunity to, yeah, go deeper with each other and connect. And let me know if you have any questions. That link should take you right to this space within the Commons, but later in the summit, we'll also give you a little bit more info on what else we have going on there. Thanks, Abba.
All right. And I think that's the end of the very exciting technical details that we have to get through here. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce Miss Bonnetta Adeeb from the Ujamaa Seeds Collective. I had the opportunity to chat with her last week for the first time one-on-one, and just incredibly touched by her stories and the way that she relates to her work, and learned so much in such a short period of time just from connecting with you, Ms. Bonnetta. So I'm gonna turn the mic over to you, and please let me know if I can help in any way. I know we had that music. Do you want that music to come back up at this point?
No,
Okay.
And I'm struggling right now trying to get my presentation
Going back to the
function
beginning.
properly.
Yes.
Trying to go back up. While I'm doing that, let me introduce myself. My name is Bonnetta Adeeb. I am the president and founder of Ujamaa Farming Collective. I am also president of STEAM Onward, which is a 501c3 focusing on increasing the number of youth that enter STEM careers. Before I go any further, I need to give a shout out to a few of our growers that are on this call. I want to say thank you and shout out to Jen Williams and to Melanie and to our partners and dear friends at Organic Seed Alliance who've been with us every step of the way. Thank you and much love. Let me just take a minute to tell you that I am calling in from unceded Piscataway lands in Southern Maryland, in what we call the DMV, which is the DC, Virginia, and Maryland. And I am recently recovering from COVID, so I have a tendency to cough a lot. I'm going to apologize for that in advance because as I go through, you'll hear me. I probably won't fall over into a lump, but I might cough. I'm going to apologize in advance of that. Let me ask you before we go any further to think about the indigenous people on whose land you are sitting at this time. And can I ask you to take a second to envision what life was like prior to colonization, prior to North America and the United States, And if you would be so kind as to put those tribal affiliations into the chat so we can honor the beautiful people whose lives and land have been disrupted and so viciously stolen. The big work that Ujamaa has is on reclaiming our heritage. Yes, our focus initially was on youth and their work, but what we realized very shortly is that we have to deal with the whole family and the whole community because we're all struggling. I just want to introduce you to the administrative team. Some of these people you will recognize. I'm sure some of you know Nate Kleiman and our dear godmother, Sister Ira Wallace. But this is the team of Ujamaa. Our work is to reclaim a lost heritage. So, I'll talk more about Ujamaa seeds, but let's talk about how we got to this point. So I mentioned that STEAM Onward's work was focusing on youth and youth careers. And these particular group of young people are from our youth project called Young Researchers Community Project. This project came about because there were such high death rates of cancer in Southern Maryland due to the age-old tobacco industry. And so we started with a grant from Comcast and with support from local federal agencies to do these demonstration beds that taught basic things about growing. So from this work, I have had the blessings of the intelligence and the resources that come from young'uns. I call them young'uns because I'm a grandmother, I'm a wife, I have 3 daughters. I have 2 beautiful grandsons, one 4 years old and 1 years old. And my life work is always centered around family because that's the work of mothers, as you know. I just wanted to do a shout out also to Experimental Farm Network, our dear brother Nate Kleiman, and without Nate, we would have had a very difficult time starting this business. A few years ago, and some of you have heard of the Cooperative Gardens Commission, but our young people started an online business called Pharmacy Seeds, in which they were selling native fruit, nuts, and berries, seeds, and starts as a way to financially support our nonprofit work. But COVID came along and shut down that whole thing, shut down all the work that the young people had been working on their business plan. And Co-op Gardens came along with an option, and we were able to receive hundreds and hundreds of pounds of free seeds donated from the most beautiful organic seed industry. From that, we were able to form seed hubs. This photograph is from the original seed hub, the main seed hub in Philadelphia. And these volunteers, I think we had at one point above 70 volunteers that were coming, repacking seeds that came from the industry to send out to seed hubs. STEAM Onward, my 501c3, was working with young kids to pack those seeds, repack them for individual distribution to communities in need. And I know Organic Seed Alliance was there right from the beginning, helping us to come up with how do we, if we know that our community is going to be devastated because of the breakdown in the food distribution system, what are some basic things that we could do? And as always, we can grow some food. We can take care of our own families. And even people who do not own land can grow food in community gardens. And so, as was done by the government during World War I and World War II, well, the government did not come to our aid with COVID, but it was an equal disaster. So from there, we decided to spread these seeds all over the country. And I think there's quite a few seed hubs in your region. The idea was that the people in the community knew where the need was, and they could provide these heirloom varieties to the communities and then support them in growing food, any effort toward food sovereignty. That's what we were aimed at doing. So this company that the kids started, they call Pharmacy Gardens. And the concept is foods that heal. And so we began building gardens, installing these around the region, and supporting with the Tiller Corps, which is a group of college kids that were allowed to travel because they were considered essential workers. Farm workers in Maryland were essential workers and allowed to travel. So over the course of the first year, they were able to plant about 50 gardens, mostly in the homes of senior citizens, but also community pantries and so on. And the seed store that the young people started turned into a free seed store. So all the prices and everything they had for their business went to zero because we got the seed donation. And we were able to distribute, and we still distribute free seeds around the country as a part of their work. So I always like to talk about this because it was actually a bunch of middle school girls with some high school supervision that set up this whole online store. Now, they were not allowed to travel. They had to stay in their homes, but we received a small grant from Farm to School Network, and we were able to arrange for them to pack seeds from home, and we mail them out to families. So I think we've reached about 5,000 families so far with our online. Also working with the health department, hospitals, the local food banks, community-based organizations, senior citizen centers to put these seeds in the hands of people who need them. So in order to get that work done, we needed help from farmers because we found out that people didn't necessarily know how to grow anything. So we started out with one grower, then we had two, then we had seven, and it grew from there with the objective to teach these young people how to set up gardens, basic farming methodologies, and also we were able to run a veterinary medicine internship program along with a garden internship in that first year. We decided that entrepreneurship had to be the basis of what we did because writing grants is crazy. And I know I'm speaking to the choir. We have to have some ways of supporting ourselves. So initially, we had some parents and kids that put together some really nice desserts. We were able to sell those. We had dyes, fibers, and food. That was a project that was brought to us from Maryland School of the Arts. They were looking at sustainable fashion. They wanted us to grow out dye plants and fiber plants and make available. Many of our local growers are producing wool and mohair and other things. So the concept was to organize the community to work together during COVID. And also, because our focus was on native trees, our vision was to plant food forests around the region. So I mentioned the Tiller Corps. So this is the work that was our first mission for Ujamaa Collective Farming Alliance. There were a few challenges that we had initially. So as we began to distribute seeds in the community, we heard that people were requesting seeds that we weren't necessarily getting in donation from the organic seed industry. The first thing we received request for was callaloo and Scotch bonnet, which some of you might know is the traditional food of the Caribbean. Now that was a whole discussion. What is callaloo? We could talk about that. Everybody agreed the Scotch bonnets were good, although the people from Trinidad, Tobago, and Guyana wanted wiri wiri, which is a really hot little bird pepper that some of you may know. So because we did not receive the culturally meaningful seeds that we needed, CGC began to look at how we could do this work, particularly for African and African Caribbean communities that were saying, this is what we really need. We would love to have these delicious food. So eventually it came to a big meeting that we had with the organic seed industry. And there was an offer to partner with us. And so we proposed a reparative action in which we would be supported and partner with the organic seed industry. So of course, OSA was one of the first people to step up to help us do this work. So our work was about food security and equity. We want to increase the number of the healthy food that was available to the community. And we wanted to develop our own sustainable system, something that was both regional, that was local, but also international. And I'll talk about that for just a minute. So just letting you know about the work we're doing with the Ujamaa Farming Cooperative. We meet in a convening manner. We are developing this cooperative, and some of you who are interested in working with us, I'm going to talk about that. But you'll recognize some of the faces here. All people who gave of themselves. We're all volunteer organization, and our concept is to reclaim our lost heritage in heirloom varieties. We were really, really excited about the ability to address the needs of various communities. And we launched last year on January 13th, just ahead of the Lunar New Year event. So we felt that this year we wanted to really push it out. As you know, Kitazawa, which is the seed company that we were working with, is no longer, they've been, I guess, bought out by another company. But we really wanted to see how we could develop a partnership for our AAPI members. And one of my objectives here today is to see if we can recruit growers that are interested in helping us make sure that we can continually provide the culturally meaningful seeds for those communities. We also have a project with the University of Vermont. We were able to get a grant to work on strategies for markets. Our grant helps us to research basically two different groups of people. One group is the end users of seeds. So that would be gardeners, farmers, and seed companies. And then the end users of produce. So we're going to come back to you soon and ask you to participate in our nationwide survey to find out what that even means. What does culturally meaningful seeds mean to people? And also, if we can develop initiatives that are beneficial and supportive of the Asian Pacific Island community, please let us know. We've also opened up something called the Front Porch, which is an opportunity for people to come together and talk about issues that are pertinent, literature, writing, and that is a way for us to have an open forum that's on Zoom that meets every other month to talk about issues that face us in our community. I just want to say that this year our focus was on how Filipinos celebrate Lunar New Year, which was amazing, amazing learning curve for me. I have so many cousins that are Filipino, and I continue to learn. If you don't know about round food and the 12 round fruits of Filipino celebration of Lunar New Year, learn more. But there's so much to learn from all these people, and we hope to bring all this knowledge forward as we gather this information ourselves. We also have several of you who participated in the Ultra Cross Collard project. Ultra Cross Collard really is a term that came out of your region, came out of your state. This phrase was actually coined by Melanie Edwards to describe all of these beautiful collards that we have been able to trial in 2022. And so she, along with other growers, grew out these varieties. And when we grew out all these varieties, we realized that they were amazing. They were beautiful, and people didn't know about these greens. This green is very, very important to the Black community. And the reason why this green is so important is because the whole idea of collard greens and Southern greens is a reflection of the current society we live in and the past society. When Europeans came to this country, they came with kale and cabbage. Unfortunately, it didn't thrive in the South. Africans came on slave ships, And even though they came, a lot of peas, African peas or Southern peas came on those ships, as did a few other things like okra. The greens from Africa did not make the trip with Africans as they arrived in this country. So growers who were enslaved people, for the most part, were only allowed to farm after dark and on Sunday, developed from wild strains of collard and kale, these various collard greens. And these greens stayed within families for many years. During the course of the work that was being done by the Heirloom Collard Project and two great scholars, they were able to collect 120 varieties by traveling door to door in the South, asking seed stewards if they would share seeds. Many of the seed stewards were elderly and were not did not believe that their children would carry on that work. So they donated seeds to the Heirloom Collard Project. And those seeds kind of sat in a vault until our dear sister Ira realized they were there and kind of organized an activity at Monticello in Virginia, where they did a grow out of these. And these things make people happy. Here I am in a greenhouse with about 500 collard. And what happens is if you plant all those varieties in one place, you get what they call intercrossing, or what Melanie calls the ultracross. So what you see is creations of new varieties that are tolerant to many things and are absolutely beautiful. In this beautiful garden, there were pink ones and purple ones. Yes, there were actually purple and pink polka dot and striped collard greens. There were greasies, there were purples, there were blues. Some were tall, some were short, some were wide, some were fat, some were skinny, some were shiny. And so we realized that we were onto something when we looked at the mix that came from this. And so just as kind of a fluke, we decided to offer seeds from the Ultracross trial. And those seeds sold very well. And I must tell you right now, the Ultracross is our best-selling seed to date. It's important because it's an important story about the technology and the skills that African people had. And the reasons, one of the main reasons why they were brought to this country was because of their farming skills. But of course, when ideas are associated with Black people, in the past in this country, they have been denigrated. I mean, do people know that even the word jazz is a derogatory term that means like sexual activity of this type? So many things associated with people of color have been dehumanized and devalued. And so the ultracross collard represents my people so well, because if you look at the full range of diversity, biodiversity that's in the African American community, it's the same way. We got the tallest people and the shortest people, the fattest people and the skinniest people. We have dark people, we have light people, we have everything within the community. I was shocked when I traveled in Africa, in Southern Africa, to see there were blue-eyed Zulus and brown-eyed and hazel-eyed. So to us, these ultracross are representative of the tremendous biodiversity that we think is amazing, the way that God has planned it, the Creator has done this amazing thing. And so we're asking you, if you're interested, to help us do this work in two ways. First of all, we need to maintain the integrity of the individual varieties, extend them. There are very few seeds left from many of these. But then we also need to use projects like the Ultracross in order to develop new varieties that can withstand climate change. You mentioned Oaxaca, and one of the things we realized is the Oaxaca Negro pepper, Chihuahua Negro pepper that we sell is no longer thriving in its homeland, in the original place, but we can grow it here. Because of climate change, we're going to have to be aware, and we're going to have to adapt our food, and we're going to have to reclaim this heritage. I just wanted to show you this little picture. So y'all did a really good job out west growing these out. We thank you so much. And we thank you for continuing support of our work. So this is just example of one of our collaborators. At Princeton University, we have started a seed farm, and the seed farm is growing out varieties. And so this is the ultra-cross, what's left of it. And as you see, a lot of plants survived some really insane weather this year, down in like 8 degrees. They survived. And so we actually have a trial where we're growing in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Canada to look and adapt collard to grow in northern climates. And so from this field, yeah, there's many beautiful things that survived, but all of these seeds are going to be the collards of the future. And so this particular one, some of you will recognize it. It's called Old Timey Blue. The blues and the purples did great, but this is a yellow cabbage collard that was favored by many of the North Carolina Native American tribes. The Lumbee claimed this one as the most delicious and the sweetest of cabbage collards. Now, I don't have to tell you what's most delicious. I'll let you grow it out yourself. But we hope that people find themselves and see themselves reflected in those cultures. In addition to that, we also have the similar kind of project called the Ultra Cross Okra. And what we're looking at is there again, there's so many beautiful okra, but okra, again, being a southern crop, an African crop that did make it to this country, was grown out. We have found over 200 varieties with our dear friend Chris Smith from Utopian Seeds. And we see the same thing reflected in the Ultra Cross okra. Look at that biodiversity. Have you ever seen anything so beautiful? I'm talking a whole lot of yummy gumbo, but many other things that can be done with these crops. Let me go on and talk about sorghum a little bit, because the first crop that we planted was sorghum. And this one is a white sorghum. And it's good for so many things. It's good for popping. How many of you have had sorghum? Anybody tasted it? Ooh, all right, very good. It's also can be used for bread. It can be used for making milk. It can be used, the leaves here, if you see they have a reddish quality, they're used for dye. They used to dye food and add nutrient value to West African dishes. This is a very old sorghum meal that we use, in which we could harvest the syrup from it, and all the things that come from this syrup. Of course, there's a very delicious juice that's really good to drink just as it is. But we are working on a value-added specialty crop project in which we do every possible thing with sorghum. So yes, we're making the juice from it. We're drinking the juice, but we turn that juice into soda. So we hope to have a soda pop coming out soon. We also have growers who are using African recipes to produce beer. We have another grower who's using sorghum to make moonshine, to make alcoholic beverages. And then also the fiber is being used. It can be woven, and there's people who are looking at managing this as clothing, as a part of our fiber project, and also weaving and how to handle it. And also sorghum is very good in terms of carbon sequestering. So it's one of the most important things, one of the best plants for creating, for sequestering carbon. It's also an oil crop. So we will have sorghum growing all over the place, even though it comes originally from West Africa, from East Africa, from the Horn. Sorghum is now growing all over the world. And these are just a few examples of this beautiful sorghum that we have. We're also working on a perennial sorghum. This is Johnson grass, and many of you already know it and hate it, but it is a relative of sorghum. And so what we're doing is we're breeding this along with other varieties, delicious sweet varieties, food grade varieties of sorghum to create a perennial sorghum. So at our seed farm in Princeton, this crop of perennial sorghum survived the weather, and we hope to bring these products to market. So this is coral. These are all the seeds that came off that one plant that was able to survive the first winter. Let me talk about this one. This is the Nanticoke squash, and this is one of the most important varieties that we're doing. So you begin to see a theme here with Bonnetta, like she's really into biodiversity. This is one seed that manifests itself in all these amazing ways. This particular variety, the Nanticoke variety, was popular and traded in the Chesapeake Bay region among the Piscataway, Lenape, and other tribes, Ramapo and other tribes. And we are so excited about the idea that within the genes of this plant is amazing biodiversity. And think about what this means for us as we move forward with climate change. You guys have a lot of wet climate. In some places it's dry, in some places it's wet and dry, periods of drought. And so a crop like this, we can hopefully develop varieties that can withstand all kinds of climate conditions. And we see, even though this was a major delicious food historically, it's going to be a very important crop moving forward. I just want to talk a little bit about our seed catalog, because one of the things we've done with the Ujamaa seeds this year is to add a lot of perennials. This is a beach plum that grows wild over the East Coast, and our goal is to continually introduce more and more varieties that are culturally meaningful. And some of you recognize this as baobab. So baobab is the tree of life. Do you remember from the movie Lion King? Hakuna Matata, all that. Well, this is the tree that they were talking about. It is one of the oldest living trees, examples that are more than 3,000 years old. What's amazing about it is that everything on this tree is useful, edible, and helpful. So you're wondering, why is Ujamaa selling these trees? Because this is, above all, one of the most meaningful seeds in the world to African diasporic people. It's used for everything from the wood is good, the fruit is edible, the leaves can be cooked like greens. And the tree itself retains water, and it is also used as a coffin. So when people die, historically people were buried in this tree. So it has been naturalized in the Caribbean. It is now growing in St. Croix and the Virgin Islands wild in those islands. So we believe that we can follow the way of our ancestors. They tried new things, they experimented. This fruit is so delicious. That white pulp that you see makes a delicious drink. My sister from Not Too Plus Juices is selling baobab juice. She can't keep it in stock. It's extremely beneficial, and it's also amazingly delicious. So our work is pretty straightforward. The goal is to get everybody understanding and interested in what's culturally meaningful for them, and for those people, all of these people, to seek to bring back those varieties, extend them, and make them available for people in the future. So this was our beautiful crowd. You see, you probably recognize some more people there, our dear sisters and brothers who have taken it as a personal responsibility to steward Collard. So the three ways in which we need your help are to act as seed savers. And so if you have a seed that is culturally meaningful to you, we hope that you save that seed and share that seed with your family. If you have a lot of that seed and you're interested in selling it, Ujamaa would like to sell your seed for you. We can do that work. We also need seed stewards. Now, a seed steward is a little bit more experienced. There are people who have had the experience of growing and who have had, who feel confident that they can take a small number of seeds and extend them out to make them available for future generations. And then we have the Ultra Cross project that we do, in which we do in collaboration with collectives, community-based organizations, churches, schools, fraternities, sororities. Maybe I know University of Washington is on this call. We work with Princeton, Spelman, American University, University of Georgia, Central State, University of Kentucky, University of Arizona. So we have collaborative work we do with these organizations to help reclaim this heritage of observing seed selection, understanding seed breeding, and developing more and more, bringing back the rare varieties that are outside the 20 vegetables most Americans are eating every year, to expand that and to make that available to the future. So I think that's, I don't know how many more minutes I have, Abba, but I can do another activity if I have more time.
Great.
But
Yeah,
that's the overview.
thank you so much, Ms. Bonnetta. It's always amazing to hear about all the work you're doing. And we are at time for the session, but if you want to do a brief activity, I would definitely welcome that. We can adjust, and I think people would be excited about that. I'm getting some thumbs up, so I think people are on board.
Okay, so here we go. So, we've been misbehaving on planet Earth, right? We are messing up big time, and Mother Earth is getting sick to death of us. And you know what? She's giving us a warning. COVID was the warning. Y'all don't get your act together. You're going to go the way of the dinosaur. I'm going to drop kick you off planet Earth. So she's given us a couple of more chances. But it looks like we may blow even the last chance if we don't get busy quickly. So just in case, there's a ship that's leaving planet Earth, and you're all invited to travel on that ship. You can only take, however, 10 seeds with you, because we're going to colonize a new planet that I'm calling Wakanda. So we're going to all leave with our 10 seeds on this journey. I need you to make a list of 10 varieties that you have to be you. What do you have to bring? So y'all already know, for me, it's got to be collard greens and sweet potatoes. Okay, I'll be right. Okra, yeah, that's me. What is it for you? Watermelon, another African crop. But what do you need in order to maintain your culture so that your offspring will know who you are and you can maintain your traditions? If you'll take 1 minute, each individual, and make a list of what those 10 things are that are requirements for you to maintain their culture. So can you give them, who's going to do the time? Give them 1 minute, and then I'd like to hear from the audience what they have to have in order to survive in the next planet, in the next manifestation for humankind. Let them know when 1 minute is up.
All right, 1 minute starts now.
You can't get on the mothership unless you have 10 seeds.
All right, time's up, y'all.
Okay, so if anybody is willing to share, you could either put in the chat, or if somebody wants to holler out what it is that they have to take, that would be fine with me. I want to know.
Seeing lots of activity in the chat. Anyone who posted one, feel free to unmute and share.
I will. Hi,
Hey,
Bonnetta.
Jennifer. Hi, Jen.
Okay, so I had some flowers on my list. I started with sweet peas because of the scent, sunflowers, some snap peas, a special radish that I have, and the Detroit dark red beets. These beautiful purple pole beans that I love. Also runner beans, also for the flowers, for all of the pollinators. The diverse mix of Maxima squashes that I've grown over here for the last 5 or 6 years. And I think I still have a couple more, but I ran out of time.
Thank you, June. That
I
was
love
so
this activity.
great.
Thank you.
Much love to you, my sister. Any more time, or we out of time? Anybody else gonna share?
Maybe we do one or two more if somebody wants to pop in.
We are going to be doing two ultracross squash projects. So look for one that's a Maxima ultracross and one that is a Peppo ultracross. Coming soon. Cabbage for kimchi. Oh my God, I've got to have kimchi. Coffee, very good, Anna.
Oof, forgot about the coffee.
Cassava. Oh yes. Potatoes, corn potatoes, tomatoes, all those beautiful gifts from our brothers and sisters in the Americas. And you got to be represented. Oh, all the squashes, sweet pepper, oh, peppers. Oh, wonderful. Jillian. Beautiful. And so the question goes to this, and maybe in the future, as I continue to talk to you, I'll tell you my seed story and the journey that my family has had to discover the varieties that were eaten by them. So it's not enough to just know it's watermelon. In my case, that's all I got. It was a delicious watermelon. But what variety? And so we'll go deep. And I'm asking you to interview grandmothers. I didn't tell you that you can't bring this list unless your grandmother, the elders, approve of it. You have to have the sanction of the elders. Continue this journey, do it on your own, and share among your friends the most beautiful heritage that we cannot let die. Otherwise, Mother Earth will kick us off. We must be better children, Mother Earth.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Bonnetta. It's always a pleasure to hear your wisdom and your words. Thanks to all of the beautiful sharing that's happening in the chat right now. If everybody wants to just show some love to Miss Bonnetta for coming here and being so wonderful,
beautiful,
and holding
my
it down
God,
for us.
Thank
you so much. Yes.
Can I also talk about the music that's playing? Please follow up. The name of the song is Ella's Song. It's by Sweet Honey in the Rock. And it says, "We who believe in freedom cannot rest." Well, farmers aren't big on naps or resting anyway. So it's not that. But we have to do this work. We are freedom fighters, very much like the people who don buses and who walk picket lines. Our work as organic or as heirloom farmers is as important to the world struggle for a better way of living and food sovereignty. So consider yourself deputized. You are a soldier in the army for fair food, fair treatment, and free seeds and free knowledge.
Yes, yes, indeed. And with that, we are going to take a short break, let everything percolate, integrate, deputize, actionize, and let us get ready for the next session. We're going to be welcoming Miss Bonnetta Adeeb back tomorrow to talk also about seed contracting. So just one more time, thank you so much, Miss Bonnetta, for all your beautiful wisdom and for the beautiful music you're bringing to our group. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back at around 10:15. So we'll see you back here then.
Much love to you and all.